Well, hi, everyone. It's Fred Oduyoye and Rick Lawrence here for another one of our Wednesday conversations about reachable reconciliation. Fred is founder of Reachable Reconciliation, and he's developed a process. It's really a way of journeying toward reconciliation that he calls the 5 R's. They include reactions, reflection, repairs, reaching, and relationship. And I was thinking about something related to reaching that Fred, you might be able to tackle today. So March is Women's History Month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's no Men's History Month, yeah, because of obvious reasons. And actually, I mean, that's funny to us, but there is a Women's History Month because women throughout history have been marginalized and haven't had a voice and haven't had the spotlight. You know, the old saying that men write the history books. Whoever writes the history books also is in control of the truth in some ways. So we have a Women's History Month kicking off in March, and it made me think about something I've heard you say before, that when we think about minority, that actually is a term that's broader than we typically give it. And I think it fits with the whole broadening understanding of what reconciliation is. We tend to think of reconciliation in terms of racial reconciliation.
Sure.
You have been pounding the drum that this is obviously much broader than that. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the way that you see minority and how that impacts how we reach other people.
Sure. Well, it's funny you say Women's History Month, and it's kind of like, what is that? What is a woman's history? I mean, it's like, oh, this is my month. It's Black History Month. You know what I mean? Like, who comes up with those kinds of months? And what are we supposed to do during Black History Month? And what are we supposed to do during Women's, month? It doesn't make much sense to me, because we're clearly identifying that there is a group of people that we should be paying more attention to, right? And it makes me think of moments where I have tried to pay attention to the women in a certain space, because you're right. When it comes to minorities, people, run to race, right? They think, oh, it's got to be a black and white thing when we're thinking about minorities. It's got to be a person of color versus the white race. And that's not always the minority. What about the person that is just sitting in the same room with you, but feels isolated or disconnected? And that could be anyone. It could be a white person. It could be a person of color, but it could be, when we think about, the makeup of an individual, they could be an introvert, somebody that doesn't talk, somebody that isn't used to being around a group of people, or is a little bit more reserved on the front end before they open up. It can be somebody who's not at the same economic level that you're at. So you've got somebody that clearly has money in the room and somebody that's either in ministry or in the room just by relationship, but can see that, hey, I'm not on your same level when it comes to the money.
Yeah.
And there's so many other things, right? The way we dress and the way we approach things and our voice. I mean, a lot of things can separate people into various groups, which is why you and I connect to a specific type of people, because that's the natural connect. So think about, if we have the natural connect, what are the natural disconnects that someone on the other end isn't, is feeling? I remember one time when I was in Atlanta, and we're in this meeting, and these two women were representing the city of Atlanta. And the long story short about that is, a lot of times when you are the minority, in order to be in the room, but also contribute to the room, you have to do something extra. So for people of color, a lot of times we'll say we have to code switch, right? We have to code switch, meaning we have to maybe come outside of our natural Black race and try to sound or appear more like white mainstream so that we can fit in.
Hmm.
I think it's no differently for the woman, because we have such a male dominated, we're in such a male dominated country and state and world, that they have to try to figure out, how do I get in the game so that I can sound or appear or fit just like a male counterpart.
Hmm.
So even when I was in Atlanta, I was watching how these two women were doing something extra so that they could fit into that meeting. And I finally just broke that noise and I said, hey, you guys don't have to change who you are to fit in this room.
Hmm.
And you could just see everybody get silent, but you could also see the countenance on them. They started to feel more comfortable, because it was like, wow, you mean I actually get to relax and be who I am and feel like I'm heard and contribute naturally the way I would in any other space? So I guess what I'm saying, Rick, one of the things that we can do is to not view someone as a person of color, but not view someone as, oh, that's the woman in the room, but view them as you would anyone else. So I would say, Rick, during Women's History Month, maybe we should pay a little bit more attention and realize that women are teachers. So they are great educators. Women are great listeners. They listen way better than men do, right? Women are ones that keep information better than we do. I mean, they can, there can be 7 people talking in the room and women they can catch it all, right? And register in their bank, where we can't. We're one thing at a time, right? So women are processors and they're organizers and they're administrators, much better than we are. And, maybe we could just invite women into the conversation earlier than we usually do.
Yeah.
Stop allowing the men and the males in the room to dominate the conversation or lead the conversation. Let's have women, let's invite them into the conversation early so that they feel like they're connected at the beginning. So I think those are some things, Rick, that we could pay more attention to this month and realize, like, oh wow, they're just as rich as anyone else.
I love how you, this is really a great broadening, I think, Fred, to think with this lens on that there are other kinds of minorities in the room right now. And what I hear you saying is, I think, really powerful. How do you help people who feel like outsiders, for whatever reason they may feel like they're an outsider? How do you make them feel like insiders? What are the ways that you do, like you said, what you said in Atlanta helped those two women to feel now like they're insiders instead of outsiders. Now they can contribute in a more significant way, because that checkbox is checked for them now. Okay, you're saying that I'm in.
Right.
So now I can participate in a different way. I think that's really powerful.
And it's all, Rick, paying attention to somebody else more than yourself, right?
It's good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to leave this with, Fred. Paying attention to others more than you pay attention to yourself. If we just started doing that.
That's it.
Yeah. So gang, if you're interested in having Fred involved in a reconciling journey in your organization or church, there's information just below this video where you can head on over to his website. There's lots of ways to connect and learn more about what Fred and Reachable Reconciliation are doing. We are in need of reconciliation in so many ways, not just in the church, but outside of the church. It's time to start doing something about it. We'll see you again next week.